Do you enjoy movies?
Do you enjoy adult beverages?
Do you enjoy conversations that could go off the rails at any second?
If you said yes to any of these questions, then you should check out the Films and Fermentation podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike,
We're just three friends.
who like to talk shit about movies.
While getting shit-faced. So join us every week as we discuss interesting movie topics like best ensemble films, most paused moments in cinema, and the occasional movie review, plus so much more.
When you add drinking, you have no idea where this conversations could go.
So find us on Spotify, Apple Pods, Good Pods, YouTube, or wherever you go to listen to your favorite shows. You could also visit linktree.com/films and fermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. We'll be waiting for you to join us weekly at the crossroads between pickled and fermented. Cheers.
Cheers.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Deluxe Edition. I am your host, Casey Shearer. Joining me, as always, L. Ray Sexton.
What's going on, Casey?
Not too much tonight, buddy. How are you?
Oh, we're having a nice, relaxing Sunday.
Yeah, this was was it relaxing? We just did 2 fucking interviews. It was one of the most stressful nights of my life.
Oh, come on. It wasn't bad. It was fun.
No, these were 2 of the greatest episodes that we've had. You'll see. Who was the first one that we did tonight? The one that we're talking about right now.
Internet cooking sensation Bill Harlow.
Yeah, this was a fun one, man. We learned a lot about cooking tonight, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some things we will do, some things we won't do.
Yeah, that's kind of what that went down like. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a cool interview though. Bill puts a lot of effort into his Instagram channel. Go check it out, Cooking with Bill, over on Instagram. A lot of cool recipes. He does a lot of experimental stuff as he talks about in the interview. But before that, let's just do some of the house cleaning here, quick, Ray, and then we'll get right into it. What do you say?
Sounds good.
All right, we are a part of the Deluxe Edition Network. You can find all of the other podcasts on the network over at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Podcasts of the month this month are Friends Talking Nerdy and Films and Fermentation. Go check them out. Some great podcasts over on deluxeeditionnetwork.com. I think we're up to 33 podcasts now, Ray, right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and there's some great shows over there. If you'd like to see any of our previous shows, go over to deluxeedition.show. You can find all of our previous episodes over there. Or head over to Instagram. Check out what Ray's doing over there on Instagram at Deluxe Edition Pod. What are some of the things you're doing over there, Ray?
Mostly memes. That's about our forte at the moment. A lot of memes.
Memes and reels from the show.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
All right, and let's see. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Deluxe Edition Pod. And let's see. If you want to buy a t-shirt, go to whatamaneuver.net/collection/deluxe-edition. And if you'd like to get any of the bootleg stuff that Ray's been putting on, like that beautiful shirt that he's wearing there tonight.
Official bootleg merchandise over at the 10-Cent Beer Night Podcast T Public page. You can get this shirt in like 60 colors. Can't get that on the official site. It comes in black over there. So,
yeah,
just so you're aware, it also comes in a sweet V-neck. So if you want to show off your chest hairs.
Yeah, buddy. And our sponsor, Sunday Scaries, is back, Ray.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, if you'd like to get 20% off of your Sunday Scaries order, Go over to sundayscaries.com and use code Deluxe15 to save 20% off. Our previous deal was 15% off. You're getting 20% off now. And Ray, they have something now called Sunday Scaries Couch Potatoes. These are adult gummies for chilling. Somehow, I don't know how they do it. I don't ask questions, but this is legal THC. It's called Delta 9 THC, and they work, buddy. I'm going to tell you that right now. We had one of our clients try some, and I said, "Did they do anything for you?" And he said, "Well, my wife said I seemed more jolly today." So,
As opposed to a raging lunatic that he normally is.
so take it for what you will. More jolly, and they also have these other ones. These extra, they're just regular CBD gummies, and they also have these other the unicorn jerky. It's just another kind of candy, and these are really good. I tried some of these the other day. The flavor of these is really good. So check them out. Sundayscaries.com. Use code Deluxe15 to save 20%. Anything else, Ray?
Nah, let's get to it.
All right. Here is our chat with Bill Harlow. Thanks for joining us tonight, man. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself before we get started here?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I think you guys know I cook. I mean, that's why I'm here, I think.
Yep.
Or this ugly mug, one of the two, I'm not sure. But yeah. So I mean, obviously the cooking thing is something I've been doing for a little over 2 years now, and it's got a little bit of a following. Get to experiment all the time, which is what I kind of am leaning towards a little bit now, and joke all the time that I'm not a barbecue guy because I'm not. Even though I cook a lot of barbecue, I still have a lot to learn and still upset a lot of folks with what I make with my barbecue. So I think it's a fun place to be.
Well, what are people getting upset about the barbecue? You're in the comments. People are complaining.
Well, the barbecue community is a great community. I mean, everyone's friends, right? But I'm not a traditional barbecue guy in any way, shape, or form. That I'll introduce sous vide into barbecue cooking, or maybe I'll combine things that are not normally combined in a way that say, oh, that's Texas barbecue, or that's Western Carolina barbecue, or that's South Carolina barbecue, or that's Texas barbecue, or California barbecue. Everyone has kind of their own way of doing it, and I don't necessarily have a niche, so I like to experiment across. And sometimes people are like, "Oh no, you destroyed Texas barbecue today." I'm like, "Well, this isn't Texas barbecue; it's something else. I'm not sure what it is, but it's not Texas barbecue."
Right. Yeah, barbecue people are like there's all different kinds of sauces, right? There's like Texas barbecue sauce, then there's the Carolina sauce, right? And there's different mixtures of everything, right?
Different types of wood. It may be even the cuts of meat. You think of like tri-tip. That's typically a California thing, and now everybody in the world is destroying it because they've like, oh, we cook it better than California. They've been doing it for like forever, and we're just now learning about it. We're not out cooking them in any way, shape, or form. We're just doing it differently.
What inspired you to get into the cooking? And I guess, well, even go back further than that. Like, what did you do before the Instagram took off?
Yeah, so like a lot of people, I jumped in right in with COVID. I'm now at home. I am fending for myself a little bit more than what I used to. The options of stopping through drive-through and or grocery store hot bar and picking up dinner really didn't exist anymore. The other part of it too for me was I had an hour commute, sometimes an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, depending on traffic. So when you get home at 7:30 at night, it's what can I get done quick and easy? And it was fast food or drive through or the grocery store. And then suddenly COVID happened, and a lot of my options went away, and I had a little bit more time and was spending a lot more time at home, like a lot of people. And the first little bit of time was pretty good. Then you realize you don't know how to cook. real fast. And your delivery options for food kind of went away. And where I live at, it was already limited with delivery services already. So throw in everyone else's has demand for it, and there's not a lot of places to go for it. And I was running out of options, and or at least the same options. And the things I did know how to cook were this comes out of a jar and heat and serve. This goes in the microwave, heat and serve. So I was running out of those ideas real fast, and spent a little time on YouTube trying to figure out how to make the things I missed, and really just experimented with food in general. I didn't have a cooking background at all, and like I said, everything I cooked was simple or just in time type meals. I don't know how many frozen pizzas I ate like the first part of COVID, like a lot of folks, and just started to learn and started to experiment, and just grow a little bit, and started posting things on my personal Instagram, and have the 3 friends that would like it, which I thought was awesome. At least 3 people liked it. And then a couple of friends started complaining about I was posting too much food. Like, we're eating out of cardboard boxes, we're eating out, all the, things that aren't good. And one of them challenged me. It's like, could you just maybe make another account and just put your food out there? Because if we want to follow it, we will. If we don't, we don't. But we can still see your personal Instagram account and not get mad at you for eating better than us. And so I did. So on a whim one night, posted a photo of a steak, which, now I'm kind of embarrassed by it. But back then I was super excited about it. And 5 people liked it. And I was like, wow, I'm +2 people liking my food right now. And of those 5 people, none of them were my friends either. So I felt I really made an accomplishment to the world by posting a steak photo. And and then I had a lot of content at that point. So I just started posting a photo a day, and along the way it turned into reels, doing more video work. And it just grew. I still don't know why some days, because I do post things that I don't think are all that great. And like even today, what was posted was something really simple, and it's got close to 2,000 views, which I still can't figure out why, because it's nothing special. It's just a quesadilla, but it's one of those things that I guess people like today. And and it's been a lot of fun. Got to learn a lot about cooking. Made a lot of friends in the cooking community, not just barbecue, but all over the place, and really learned a lot. Things that I wouldn't even be able to talk about 2 years, 3 years ago, and now in some ways I feel like I know more about it than other people, which is really exciting, because I look at I go back and look all the time at things I posted a year ago, and some of the things I post now I didn't even know about a year ago. Didn't know the spice, or I didn't know the cut of meat. Maybe didn't know what grass-fed, grass-finished meant, and that's like a really big thing for me now. Even sous vide, I knew what it was. And I used to joke about it a long time ago that, oh, it's just boil and bag. And now I spend more time thinking about time and temperature and things like that than I probably should, but it's become just something I enjoy doing now.
So you mentioned experimenting a bunch there. So like when you first started, were you going online and just finding recipes to make the things, or were you actually making your own recipes to start?
No, coming out of the gate, I would go on YouTube. I would Google something like, how do I make, salmon? And it would come back with thousands of options for salmon. There may be bake it, you fry it, you roast it. And for me, it was just like, I just want to make salmon that looks maybe like what I used to get at the store or the grocery store. What gets me closest to that? And it was good. It's like, find a recipe, sprinkle it with oil, put it in the oven, 22 minutes, and you have salmon. And it worked, right? But over time, it gets to, for me at least, it turned into, there's got to be more than this 22-minute salmon in the oven. There's got to be other flavors. There could be other ways to make it. Even today with beef, there's thousands of ways to cook beef. And I'm still learning, maybe I know like 50 of those versions of thousands of versions. So there's always opportunities to learn something new. And a lot of the recipes I look at now, I like the recipe, but could I do this a little bit differently? Could I, instead of just throwing it in the oven and roasting it, can I maybe introduce the sous vide? Maybe I could take it outside and do something, a part of the cook or even all the cook outside. Taking those different styles that I've learned over 2 years and seeing how I can merge them together, melt them together, or even just learn something new along the way. For me, it's that's the fun part is learning something new.
Yeah, I find it's really tough to get the oven outside so I can cook outside.
You'd be surprised what you can do with a grill. If you know that temperature, you can get that grill about the same temperature. But something the oven doesn't do is it doesn't put wood or charcoal or that extra flavor into it. I feel like an oven is like a safe space. It goes in the oven. It's environmentally not going to change unless your oven's got tons of bird stuff on the inside. But that's a whole other flavor. But even like the pellet grills. I mean, I have one and I use mine often. And you get a pretty consistent temperature in those. You can program the front of it and you get pretty close to an oven-like temperature. A lot of people bake in their pellet grills, which, I'm still amazed by that because I'm a terrible baker, even with an oven, even in a controlled situation. And yet people are smoking, muffins or bread or, cinnamon rolls, things that are typically oven only. And here they are outside on a grill cooking the same thing. And I think that type of experiment, just wasn't as big a thing maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And now you see it all the time.
Yeah. So is there a technique that you go to more often that you go back to? Like, let's say for steak, for instance, is there a technique that you like? Like, do you like the sous vide or like which one do you go back to more?
For me, it's a reverse sear. I think reverse sear for me is how I like my steak, and I think steaks same way like Texas barbecue or brisket. There's so many ways to cook it, and it's hard to say any one of those is the wrong way to do it. I think it's more of a flavor profile. So for me, it's a reverse sear, usually with charcoal, or maybe a chunk of wood in with the charcoal, let it get to a certain temperature, then bring it over to the hot side and sear the outside. To me, that's my bread and butter. What if I want a steak? Now, if I have friends coming over and there's a lot of different cuts of steak that are going to be cooked, maybe it's 5-6 people. Someone wants a fillet, someone wants a ribeye, somebody wants a sirloin. I may put those on the pellet grill just to get them smoked, and then take them over to a charcoal grill and then sear them that way. It's the same idea, but I'm using 2 different grills to get, basically the same outcome.
Have you ever made anything one way and thought, I'm never gonna do that again?
Yeah. I fail all the time. And I think that's there's been times where I've cooked something on the grill and it came out really dried out, because I either didn't put moisture back into it or didn't spray it, or maybe the temperature was off. I've had a lot of failures with sous vide as well, where I thought I was, going to create something amazing, and then take it out of the bag after cooking for 18 hours and realize, I messed up, and I can't take those 18 hours back now because there's nothing to do about it.
Holy shit! So explain. You keep mentioning this sous vide. So explain exactly what it is to everyone, because I'm not even exactly sure myself.
Yeah. So sous vide is it's a European method of cooking at a finished temperature instead of at a high temperature. Ideally, what you typically do is you have, I'll just use the steak. Steaks, the best example is you have your steak and you vacuum seal it inside of a plastic bag or silicone bag. There's lots of options out there for your container. And inside the bag, you may put in some butter, you may put in some seasoning, and then you're putting it in water. So how do you guys like your steaks? What you like? Medium rare, well done, burnt?
I like my medium.
Yeah, I like a nice medium rare.
All right, so we'll just say for fun, you guys like your steak at 125 degrees in the middle, just for fun. You may like it 130, maybe like 132. Depends on who's cooking it. But so the idea is, when you cook a steak on a grill or on a pan or, even a broiler, you're cooking at a really high temperature. It could be 400 degrees, 500 degrees, 600 degrees, 700 degrees. That's a really high temperature. And you're trying to get the middle part of the steak to that temperature that you like. So it may be 700 degrees on the grill, and you're trying to get that little middle part to 125 degrees. But the rest of the steak is not 125 degrees. It's not medium rare, closer to the outside. It's usually a little bit more cooked, a little more tough. Whereas with sous vide, if I said you want this steak at 125 degrees, the water temperature you're cooking at is 125 degrees. So when you cook it at the steak, well, and typically it might be 3 hours for a steak. It might be a little longer, a little shorter, depending on the cook. When you take it out of the water, the entire steak is what you're trying to get the middle to when you're cooking on a grill. So that entire steak is going to be pink all the way through, or a little bit, brighter than pink. And it's cooked all the way through at that temperature. Now, the challenge is the outside doesn't look very nice. It's a piece of meat that's 125 degrees. It's the center of the steak. It's not as visually appealing as you may want, because you want, a little bit of crust on the outside. You want it to be a little more firm on the outside. You want it to look like a steak. So what you can do is you can take the steak out, you can throw it on a hot grill, that 700-degree grill, crisp up the outside, and the majority of the steak is going to be at that temperature that you actually like, versus having just that little middle part at the temperature that you really like.
Yeah.
So when you sous vide, you typically cook for a longer period of time. So for that steak that, you could cook on the grill in like 20 minutes, it may take 2 hours, it may take 3 hours. I like to cook a lot of like big cuts of meat in sous vide. So I may have a piece of meat cooking at a temperature for 18 hours, 24 hours, 30 hours. And over that time, it's getting the meat to get really tender. It's breaking down some of the connecting tissue, some of the fat, and it's not melting it away, but it's making it tender all the way through. And then while it's in the bag, it's also basting in its own juices. So it's not adding in extra salt. It's not extra flavor. It's really the meat cooking within the meat. And, a lot of times I'll take it out and either torch it or sear it just so it looks more presentable. But sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just eat it right out of the bag because I already know it's done. It's already cooked. And if I'm the only person eating it, honestly, I'd rather it just taste good than look pretty.
Right. Now, do you flavor it with anything before you put it into the bag, or?
Well, it depends on what it is. I'll actually make pulled pork that way. So I'll take like a whole like pork shoulder and, I'll season it the same way if I was going to put it on the smoker, and then vacuum seal it. So all that flavor is staying within the bag. It's soaking back into the meat. If I do a steak, I may salt it. May add a little bit of butter just for a little extra fat. Garlic. That's really about it. Because again, the meat is already flavorful and none of the juices are running out. So everything is staying really compact inside the bag.
They'd go good with those hard-boiled eggs that take forever that you make, Ray.
Oh yeah. Yeah. People cook eggs in it. I started cooking shrimp in sous vide fairly recently, which is something I thought would never really work. And I can take shrimp, take off the peels, put a little bit of butter, a little bit of seasoning inside the bag, 115 degrees, cook it for, 15, 20 minutes. And they're perfectly poached shrimp, which, it's incredible flavor. It's not, not all the extra salt. It's not extra the frying. It's not all. And the cleanup is really easy. I just throw the bag away. That's my cleanup.
Yeah. Is that like, what's the most challenging like method to cook, I guess?
Sous vide definitely for me.
I guess we'll stick with steak. So steak is like the most common thing that people make. Is that the most challenging way to do it, the sous vide?
It can be. I mean, there's a lot of, things you can reference on the internet of how to cook a steak in sous vide. And then it's the finishing part of it. But I think the ones that are harder are the things that take longer. Like if you were to cook like a 6 pound chuck roast in a water bath, you're taking a leap of faith because you're going to cook it for 24, 30 hours. And it's not like the oven where you can like kind of pull the door down, look inside, take a temperature of it. Is it still tender? Is it still, is it still doing things? It's in a water bath. You kind of hope for the best because you can see it, you can look at it. I mean, you could like grab the bag and like feel the bag, but you really have no idea what's going on until you really pull it out. So you could be really well with your math and time, or you could be way off. And I've had a lot that have been way off. But when you get those, that sweet spot of time, temperature, seasoning, cut of meat, it's a pretty magical thing.
Now, when you do fail, though, like if you open the bag too soon, you can still fix it by cooking it another way, right? You can still finish it like another way, right?
You can fix it. There's some things you can fix, and there's some things you can't fix. A texture thing is something you can never fix.
Yeah.
A temperature thing you can fix, but if it's a texture thing, if it comes out kind of mushy, there's not much you can do with mushy meat other than maybe chop it up and put it in a pan and turn it into tacos or something.
Right. Going back to the experimental stuff. So how do you come up with these the new recipe ideas?
Usually it starts with a crazy idea. I'll watch like a video or a cooking show or watch a buddy of mine's reel and like, oh, okay, they did something really cool. And then like something in my brain kind of clicks and goes, yeah, you could totally do that a different way. And let's do it the most insane possible way. And it's kind of bounces in my head for about a week. And I'll start writing things on my whiteboard, like, maybe I could try this, or maybe I could do this, or start trying to figure out, maybe the time or the temperature with it and see what happens. There's been times where, I'll rewrite the recipe 50 times trying to get it closer to what I think it could be. And I might do like, some shorter cooks just to try something out. Maybe instead of cooking a whole roast, maybe I cook like a smaller steak or with the same general concept, but not wasting a, 6 pound piece of meat versus a, here's a 8 ounce steak that has the same kind of characteristics to it.
Right. And you've been partnering with a lot of different like spices and different companies too that with right?
Yeah. I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of good partners. So I have partners who are, small farms across the United States who offer, really great quality meat. Spice companies, sauce companies, charcoal companies, grill companies, sous vide companies. So it's been, a really good opportunity for me to try new things because there are those times where you're like, yeah, I don't need any more spices. I got tons of them in my spice cabinet, and then suddenly I don't have one of those though. That sounds like a unique blend or something different than what I currently have.
So let's see. What's the most challenging dish that you've ever prepared, and how did it turn out?
Probably brisket is still probably my big challenge meal because I don't make a lot of brisket, and even when I do, I still don't think it's great. I think it's good, but there's so many people who can make brisket day in and day out and don't really have a challenge with it. It's just like in their nature. Like I do this, I could trim it, throw it on my offset grill, and just make magic out of it. And I don't think I'm quite there yet because every time I make a brisket, I do something different, and I haven't quite like figured out that one way to make it perfect every time.
Yeah, I have yet to try making a brisket. It's it takes a long time, right, for brisket. Like it's what do they say, low and slow, right?
Yeah, so it's low and it's a labor of love. It's not a 4 hour cook and it's done. It's it could be 12 hours, it could be 16 hours, it could be 20 hours, and you're not in control over it. It's time and temperature and waiting for all the magic to happen. And there's some cheats around it, but at the end of the day, the meat's in control of the cook.
Going back to the experimental stuff, Are there any ingredients that you're obsessed with that you like that you use all the time, and any that you've used that you won't use again?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, something I'm doing more with recently is kimchi, trying to find different ways to use it because it has, such a unique taste, unique spice profile to it. And that's been one I've been really experimenting with a little bit lately. It hasn't really shown up in a lot of my reels because I had a lot of failures along the way. But it's a fun one because the things that I have posted with it have been, really really exciting ones. I made some muffins a couple of weeks ago with spam and kimchi inside the cheese muffins, which are things you would never consider things that go together. Maybe spam and kimchi on their own, or maybe like spam and cheese on their own, but not kimchi, spam, and cheese in a muffin. And that was a fun one. That was definitely one of those more crazy ideas. And it did spin around in my head for a while, just trying to, you know, how can I not mess this up? Even though it's, just muffins, it was still one of those. It just kind of clicked. Um, as far as things to stay away from, that's a really tough one too, because I like to really try everything. I have made some fish dishes that, from a bone perspective, slicing the fish and then the bones are all over the place. That's been one that I tend to, I could say, mess up a little bit, but I could do a better job of choosing my fish when I do some of these dishes that, it's, oh yeah, let me put this fish in this stir fry. And then as I'm eating it, I'm like tweezering out bones like all through the whole meal. So fish, I think, is one I tend to maybe lean away from as much as I can, just because that one reason.
Do you have like a group of friends? Like who's trying all these dishes? Or you have a girlfriend, a wife, or you have a group of friends? Like every time you make one of these dishes, come over and try this, or is it like how does that work? How do
Yeah,
you
I
know
mean,
if like how do you know if it's? I mean, your taste buds are obviously you know if it's good or not, but how do you know if other people are gonna like it?
yeah, I'm a little skewed on what I eat because I tend to like either I like it or I don't, or it is what it is. But neighbors, friends, family, I think they're all good people to try things out with. There used to be the joke that people either come over for a steak and be ruined by it because their expectation of a steak has suddenly changed. I've had people call me after coming over for a steak and like, I was out at this steak restaurant and it just wasn't good anymore. And I just paid a lot of money for the steak that I'm not happy with. Like you've like ruined my steak experience for me. But during COVID, I had a neighbor that was a couple doors down, and we got in the habit of just making a big dish, and then part of that dish went over to his house, and or his wife would make something. Part of that dish would come back over to my house, and I think that was a good time for me to let other people try my food during COVID, and as well as try the food that they were making too, because they were making things that I didn't make, and I was making food they didn't make, so it was a win-win. But yeah, it's great to have neighbors who are hungry because there's always a lot being made, and I typically tend to overcook a lot too.
Yeah, and I think we're both in Florida, so I might be getting a knock on your door here one of these nights.
Like I say, I'm not that far away from you. It's a very short drive down 275.
Yeah. So like before this, before the whole Instagram stuff, what were you doing? And do you still have like a side job? Are you still or
Yeah.
like a regular full-time job?
Well, this really is the hobby.
Sure.
At the end of the day, what I do here is a hobby. It's a hobby that I could stop at any time. It's, if it became something that, just interfered with everything, I could stop it. I'd still cook. I just wouldn't pull my phone out to film it. That would be the
Sure.
difference. But I do have a real job, which, it provides a little bit of flexibility with some of the cooking because, I kind of joke that, I may do part of the prep work before work, since I work at home. So it gives me a little bit of flexibility. So I could do some prep, before I start that first call of the day or that first email. And then I get, a little break at lunch. I can, do either some more prep work or maybe do part of the cook. And then once it hits, time to clock off, I can then finish the cook. With being in Florida, being on the western side of Florida, the sun stays out a little bit longer. So in the spring and the fall, I can definitely cook a little bit later, get better lighting. Summertime, it's always super hot. So if there's anything I can shortcut inside the house during the day, it's a win. But yeah, but at the same time, my lunches used to be just stay and work during lunch, stay in front of the screens, not move too far away. But now with the cooking part, it gives me a little bit of a distraction to move away from the screens, take a break, walk around, go outside for 30 minutes, and maybe it's cook something on the grill, or take my prep table outside and go prep for 30 minutes outside in the sun, and step away and just distract myself for 30 minutes, and then come back refocus after lunch, which is something I didn't always get when I was even in the office. In the office, it was, oh yeah, I should go take lunch, and then like rush back to my desk. And now it's, I do have a distraction most days to force myself to reset the brain a little bit, which I think helps me be a little more rounded at work, and definitely more focused in the afternoon versus I've never left my screen for the whole day.
Right. So you said before this you weren't really much of a cook before you started doing it, for yourself and for the Instagram stuff. Have you since then decided to take any classes? Like, have you gone to any cooking classes or anything, or is it all just stuff you've learned on your own?
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously watched a lot of YouTube videos like a lot of people. I haven't taken any formal classes. I was at a barbecue fest a couple months ago, and to me that was really like a life learning lesson at that point, because I was watching competition teams. I had the opportunity to do a little volunteering and helping some of the teams in their prep, and I was asking a lot of questions like, why do you guys do it this way? Why does your temperature have to be like right here? That's not the temperature I would use. What's in your rub? What's in your sauces? And most people would share to a certain extent like how they were doing things. And the nice part about the cooking community on Instagram is people are willing to answer questions, even if they don't want to give you the whole answer. They may give you like 75% of how they did something. But those have been really the life learning lessons for me, is just asking people like, how did you do that, or why did you do that? Because I don't know why you did that. I'm not a cook. I haven't really been in the kitchen my whole life. And then, people open up and say, well, this is why I put this type of sugar in, or this is why I put butter here versus at the beginning. Those have really been the best learning moments for me versus a more traditional cooking class where it's, cut this way, do this, salt this way, do this way. And I think learning from people who are doing what I'm doing has been probably the most helpful for me.
Sure. Yeah, some of the best places that I've ever been to, as far as like barbecue and stuff like that, those people have never been to a cooking class in their life.
It makes a huge difference. That's for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. So, like, what are you doing to stay? I mean, because you're not, like, it doesn't look like you're gaining any weight from all this food that you're cooking. How are you balancing like to stay fit?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't eat everything as in the portions that I cook it. I think that's probably number one. And I do walk my treadmill a lot, whether it's while I'm at work. I have a small treadmill that I can walk during work, or I can even after work, I can go out for a walk. I can get some exercise, and it's also moderation to a lot of extent. So, obviously, if you look at my feed, it's like, oh my God, he eats meat like every single day, and like big portions of meat every single day. But I know there's a lot of greens, there's a lot of salads, there's a lot of other things that just never make it to Instagram. Probably because I know my audience. If I started posting salad posts, I'd probably lose followers and very big swings. But at the same time, I do like to post the occasional salad or something just to show that people I am eating greens. My doctor, who's probably going to watch this podcast, knows that I do cook green things. I do eat green things because she does remind me every time I'm there, or she'll see me post like a bunch of steak like consistently, and then she'll like send me a message and like, are you eating vegetables? Because I don't see any. So it's so if I could block my doctor, that would be great. But at the same time, it's a good catch all to have somebody like that paying attention to what you're eating, even if it's not good or bad. And it's nice to have that extra audience out there.
Sure. So, like, not only are you learning to cook, like, were you filming? You weren't filming anything before that. Like, that's all new too, right? Learn it, like, doing the
Oh
whole
yeah, I
like
mean,
the
yeah.
Instagram
When I
filming
started,
and
it
the
was just taking
videos
a
and
photo. I mean, it was
yeah,
like, oh, here's the plate, here's a photo. My plating was terrible. I'm still surprised people even liked the things that I was posting because it didn't look like restaurant quality. It definitely had yeah, this guy's just randomly taking a photo of his food, and it got better over time. But I do feel like the video, when I started doing that 100%, it changed the way that I was presenting the food. So I was showing more of the prep. I was showing more of how we got there, not the finished product on the plate. And I think that adds a little bit to it. I know a lot of people are front and center in their reels. They're talking through their reels. And for me, I just want to focus on the food and how I got there. I think I've done one voiceover like on my entire like 2-year journey. And I think probably me being in my reels is probably like less than 10. And I know a lot of people want to see the person behind the cook, but for me, I like to focus on the food and the technique.
sure, yeah. And like I've done a couple of videos of food here and there, and like it's a pain in the ass, man. So like props to you because it's it's a pain in the ass to you're prepping everything and then you have to cook everything and then you're like, oh shit, I forgot to take a video of this. And like there's been so many meals where I've filmed like the whole prep of everything and then I completely forget to like take a picture or film the finished product and it's like everything was a waste. It's like
Uh,
so like
yeah.
it's a lot of work.
Well, the thing for me is I probably film it differently than a lot of folks. So I'm editing in my head as I'm actually filming it. So it's like instead of filming like the whole like hour it takes to cook it, I may only film like maybe 30 seconds or maybe like a minute tops. And usually I feel like I have enough 2, 3, 5 second cuts that I can piece something together that keeps it fairly short, fairly small, and tells a story in a way that okay, I get how I got there.
Yeah, because
Versus,
the videos can only be a minute long anyway, right?
well, you can make them longer. I mean, you can make them as long as you want, but the attention span for folks is not as long as you probably want it to be. Especially
Right.
on platforms like Instagram, where people are scrolling really fast. If you don't grab their attention in the first 3 seconds, then they've already moved on to the next video. And something I like to look at is average watch time on videos, which is, I think when I first post things like in the morning, like the numbers are really high. So if I go like check at lunchtime, usually the watches are pretty long. However, when I go back in like in the evening and just see how something's doing, the watch times have greatly shrunk because you went from the I'm interested to the I'm just casually browsing. And I found that at least with my audience, the morning viewers tend to be the longer viewers.
Like, what do you attribute that to?
I think people are waking up, trying to figure out their day, and they don't have as many distractions as they do in the afternoon. Because I'm the same way. Once it gets to lunchtime or even in the evening, I've already had a full day of distraction versus like first thing in the morning. It's like, yeah, I can spend a little bit more time looking at the thing I might want to have for lunch or dinner.
Yeah.
Versus I'm already hungry at lunchtime. I just want to like come in and go out and like go do something else.
Now, will you like meal prep for a whole week? Like you said, you're not eating the whole thing at once. So like, will you meal prep for yourself?
I do a little bit of that. I do a lot of collaborations with a lot of companies. So sometimes I have a little bit of a schedule of I need to post maybe these 3 things this week, or maybe even sometimes it's even as high as 6 things in a week. So that helps me plan a little bit. Maybe not for that week, but the week before that. So I may end up with a lot of leftovers doing some of these bigger cooks or collaboration cooks. And I do a lot of things with leftovers, which I don't think people really attribute to, where they may see the same steak or same cut of meat maybe 3 times, 4 times, and that helps me really like fill out the some of the posting as well. So so even though it's one big cook, it may turn into four reels of 4 different things. And leftovers for me are like, like king for a lot of reasons. One, lunchtime, I can put something together really fast. I may post it, I may not post it. But even like right now, I haven't cooked since, I mean, like really cooked since Thursday. Like I haven't cooked really anything big since Thursday. But yet I have enough content from, some other cooks that I can kind of fill in days when I just want to take off and maybe, eat a salad or eat something more green for a couple days, just to balance things out.
Sure. You mentioned watching a lot of YouTube stuff, to get ideas. Who are some of your, influences, culinary influences, or favorite chefs that you've watched?
Oh, I like a lot of the like over the fire cooking. Those are the ones that always tend to grab my attention first. But I also like a lot of the classically trained cooks too, because I'm not going to cook that way. But it's how could I cook that meal more my way? Could I shortcut things? Could I do something a little bit different? Could I still get the crazy, culinary expert plate, but do it more in my style? And it makes it fun for me. It's like, well, it's the same dish, but it went 2 different directions to get there. It probably tastes 100 times different too, but in my brain, it's just as good as their dish. Um, they may question and go, yeah, it's not the same dish, but for me, it's like, well, it's the same idea. It might work. If you put them next to each other, one's probably way better than the other, and it might be mine, it might be theirs. Who knows?
Have you ever seen that guy? I think his name's like Guga or something like that. In one of the videos I watched, he cooked a steak like, 27 different ways in one video. You ever see that, dude?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen his, and I think like some of his videos are actual cooking videos, and I think some of them are just we have time and money. We can just destroy what some wagyu and covered in chocolate, and like we'll make something. And you watch the guys try it at the end, and you're like, this was terrible. I'm like, my budget's not that big to waste a expensive piece of wagyu.
Right. Yeah. I think that dude, he's getting a lot of that stuff sent to him for free just to make those videos as well to promote their stuff.
If somebody sends me a steak, I want to treat it, like what it is. It's something nice. It's something they sent. They worked really hard to make something quality. I don't want to ruin it. I want to just, highlight it as much as I can.
Yeah. Let's see. I just have a couple more questions here. We'll just run down through. What is your favorite kitchen gadget or tool that you cannot live without?
What can it be, an outdoor kitchen tool?
It can be, anything, man.
It's got to be my PK 300. So it's my main grill outside. Um, when I bought it, it definitely changed the way I cooked. I went from kind of a like everybody else, the same charcoal or gas grill, and I got that, and it really got me to change the way I cook meat outside. Really understanding meat, the meat temperature, airflow, how to control, heat, charcoal, wood, whatever it may be. But it really, really changed the way I cooked. I went from being an okay outdoor cook to a better outdoor cook who understood what things meant.
Nice. That's the way I feel with when I'm cooking on my Blackstone, even though I probably have no idea what I'm doing. But I love that fucking thing.
And I think like for me, like that's probably the one thing I cook on the least is, kind of more of that. And I don't think it's because I don't like it. I do like it when I use it. For me, it's just it's the cleanup and everything else that goes with
Oh,
it. And
It's a pain.
you gotta
It's the
you gotta take care of it. You gotta season it. And like I said, when I use it, I love it. Like I'll go for like a week and I'll cook nothing but anything on a flat top for a week. And then it gets to a point where it's just like, oh, I got to reseason it again. I got to like, do all these steps. And then I'll put it away and like not touch it for like 3 months.
Yeah, that is the worst part of it. After, but I think of it this way: if you're cooking, if you're cooking all that different stuff on, on your oven or on your stove, you have all those different dishes that you have to wash and all that stuff. At least with the Blackstone, it's just one thing that you have to clean.
Oh, absolutely. I did this jambalaya dish on it a couple months ago and loved it. Like, because it was only one thing I had to clean at the end. It was like if I had like normally cooked this, I would be cleaning like pans and pots, and yeah, it was a win.
What's the most underrated ingredient that you think people should try more?
Kimchi, definitely
Kimchi.
kimchi. Probably because I'm on a kimchi kick right now, but it's a flavor profile that I think most people just don't have a lot of experience with. It's usually I go to the Korean restaurant, they give me like a little bowl of it, like that big, and you have like 3 bites of it, and you're done. But I think of like chimichurri as like a good comparison. 5-10 years ago, you didn't see chimichurri that many places. You go to like the Brazilian steakhouse, there'd be like a little bowl of it, but now you see chimichurri like all over the place. And I feel
I've
like
never heard of
kimchi,
that.
but chimichurri, really?
Yeah.
Oh man, like the green sauce for beef, it's pretty magical. And but it was invisible. You only saw it in certain places, but now it's in so many places. So many people are using it for so many things. I feel like kimchi's like right about there to really blowing up because it's something that's popping up more in grocery stores, like regular grocery stores, not just Asian grocery stores. And it has a lot of health benefits to it. It's fermented cabbage and vegetables, and it's got a nice kick to it. So I think it's one of those dishes that people underrate because there's just not a lot of people using it for different things.
Going back to the kitchen gadgets or tools that you can't live without, are there any products that you have used that people say, this is the best thing ever, and then you use it and you're like, you just don't get it?
Instant Pot, that's probably one. I mean, I like mine. I use it every now and then, but it doesn't for me. It doesn't really save the world. And I know there's tons of people who just love it to death. And I found like a couple of dishes I like in it, but that's about it. I can cook anything else, other ways, and to me it just comes out that much better.
What is an Instapot?
Basically it's a pressure cooker.
Mm.
Um, where you can sear some things, you can dump all your vegetables or meat or whatever, and put the pressure cooker on. It cooks it in a third of the time.
It's basically like a rice maker for the most part.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that's a good comparison. It's a giant rice cooker. That's
Mhm. If you like rice, Casey, that'd be great for you to get one of those because that's really the main thing you can cook in one of those is rice, and a lot of it.
yeah,
I'll go
rice,
get one tomorrow.
rice soups. I like making short ribs in it. Like I feel like I can't mess them up if I put them in there. Sear the beef, put all your aromatics in there, and then pour some wine on top of it. Seal the top. Pressure cook it for like 90 minutes, and it comes out perfect. But again, I know people who are like, oh, I use mine like 7 days a week, and I'm like, I use mine like once every 3 months.
Have you ever cooked a dish that surprised you with how delicious it turned out? That you were shocked, that you were questioning it going in, and then
Oh, I definitely smoked crab legs. That is the one that I was scared of, and now it's the only way that I actually cook crab legs now.
really,
I was, because crab legs, I mean, we're in Florida, so they're usually, fairly inexpensive. But even so, when you buy crab legs, it's even if they're cheap, they're still a decadent thing, at least for in my brain. They're still a nice thing. And even the place where I buy crab legs at, they're like, you don't smoke crab legs. Like, no, you put them in, you steam them, you boil them, you whatever, but you don't smoke them. And I've done it now, I don't know, 10, 20 times, and every time I have them, they're just incredible. And it's something that shouldn't work, but works really well for me.
nice. They're not dry or anything. They're
No, no. So, they come out super, super steamed, just like they normally would. They just have that
yeah,
extra smoke flavor to them.
nice. Sounds good. Can you share a memorable cooking disaster or mishap that has taught you something valuable?
Yeah, so on my pellet grill, I burnt some steaks one time because I didn't clean my pellet grill the way that you're supposed to. So it came out, so everything was good. Went outside and grabbed a beer, went back out, and there was just a big fireball in my pellet grill, and realized I need to be better about cleaning my grill at that point. But if I filmed it, it would probably have been a really comical, high viewed Instagram thing. I'd probably be famous for it at this point.
Shit. All right, last question from me. What is your ultimate cooking goal or dream project?
Dream goal is to spend more time at some of the larger barbecue festivals. I don't know if I want to be on the competition side, but spending more time in that area. I really enjoy being around the barbecue community, and every time I'm around an event, I learn something or get to know people in a way that's not just about the food. Food tends to bring people together, and barbecue community has a lot of good people in it. And whether it's on the promotion of one of the brands that I work with, or even someone brave enough to put me on their competition team for a weekend. So if anybody's listening, still looking for someone to be brave, and just spend the weekend and just cooking and having a good time. For me, that's the goal. I have a lot of respect for the people who do that week in and week out, and I think if I put what I normally cook next to competition barbecue, I'd finish in last place. I think there's a certain Bible for every type of barbecue, and I think mine tends to hang outside of that Bible a little bit. So I think it would be a little humbling for me, but at the same time, it'd be kind of fun to question why those are the norms.
Hey, you got to start small though, man. Don't be afraid. Jump in there.
Oh yeah, trust me, I got a few people who are in my ear to sign up and do a competition this year. So I'm also hoping that someone will say, I need someone to wash dishes. Hey, Bill, you want to be on our competition team?
There you go. I'll come down and test some of the barbecue, and we'll decide from there.
You gotta come down for a weekend or something. We'll have to figure something out. You're not that far away.
Absolutely, man. What else do you have for Bill, Ray?
Okay. Do you have a Kiss the Chef apron?
I do not have a Kiss the Chef apron, but I do have some other aprons that's been a very popular gift for some reason.
I was going to say, if you could get your own custom apron, what would it say on it?
Oh man, if you don't like it, don't eat it. I mean, that would probably
Yeah, that's
Awesome,
all I
man.
got. That's all I had.
Awesome, man. Well, please plug away where people can find you. If there's any of your sponsors you want to plug, please, this is the time where you do that.
Yeah, definitely Cook with Bill. I'm on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok. If you want the full story, it's always Instagram. You want the highlight story, it's TikTok. As far as sponsors, I have some really good ones. If you go off my profile, click on my profile, there's a link to a lot of deals. And a lot of these deals I don't get paid for. I just support, brands that have supported me, especially the small farms. All the farms I work with are grass-fed, grass-finished, regenerative farms. I think, we buy a lot of bad meat at the grocery store, and I've learned a lot of what you shouldn't buy at the grocery store by working with these farms, and support those local farms. They're doing incredible things, and they get it. They're trying to do better by all of us, and meat's more nutrient rich and tastes a whole lot better. And if you guys have questions about where to buy meat, shoot me a message. I'm happy to help with that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I found a farmers market here in Tallahassee every Saturday, and people might complain that it is a little more expensive, but like Bill said, the quality and the taste of it is just so much better. There's no denying that.
Yeah, I'm lucky right now. I have two local to me farms, and the stuff that they're providing me is just incredible. And I get pork from a farm in Missouri, 1984 Farms, by far the best pork in the United States, and I've had a lot, and everything delivered is just amazing.
Awesome, man. Thanks for taking the time to do this, man. And if people want the recipe, you don't post recipes, right? People have to ask you or message you for the recipes, right?
Well, sometimes I post the recipe, and if you read the descriptions, I get you halfway, if not
Okay.
3/4 of the way. But always happy to help people if they want to try something new, do something different. There's a lot of people I talk to all the time, and we bounce ideas off of each other. So it's a lot of fun to hear where people are, and I learn just as much as I give out. So it's it's a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. Thank you for taking the time to do this, man. I like
Yeah,
watching your
absolutely.
stuff. It inspired me to start posting some of my stuff. It's cool.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, guys, and also appreciate all the likes and follows you guys have been sending my way. So definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. And we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, buddy.
All right,
See you later.
thanks.